Good morning. Welcome back. So, hopefully, you have done well in your competitive test as well as PU tests. And last class, we did a quadratic equations program as well as the function overloading one. Today's class will be completing your lab programs. So, by the end of today's class, we will be done with all the 16 programs, explanation, execution, as well as I have shown you the output and the trace of the program also. We will be done with part A, which is data structures, as well as C++ programs. So that from tomorrow's class, we would be starting with Boolean algebra, which again is a very important chapter. So in today's class, we'll be doing this. Please make a note of the first program statement, and I would want you to do that. So write it down in a book. It will help you because there may be some mistakes in the manual, and in the exam you need to declare inside and define it outside if you want 30 on 30. So write a program to find the sum of the series 1 plus x square plus up to x raised to n. You need to find the sum of this series using constructors. Please add that to the question. It is using constructors. You need to use constructors when they specify something, because without constructors also I can write this program, whereas you have to use constructors. It is there in the question. Please add it to the this one, like write a program to find the sum of the series 1 plus x square up to x raised to n using constructors. You have to use constructors. When they explicitly say you need to use a concept, that concept is a must, because you can write a program without that also, but then when it is said that you need to write it using constructors, then you need to write it using constructors only. So what are constructors? Constructors are special functions which is declared in the public section of the class, and then which is declared in the public section of the class, which has the same name as the class name, and then which does not return, which will not have a return type, not even void. That is, normally how will a function look? The return type of the function, name of the function, open and close brackets, and you will have an argument list. Like if there can be arguments or there may not be arguments. Like if you're passing any arguments, you need to specify like how many you're going to pass and what would be the data type and what is the order. Otherwise, if you're not passing any arguments from the calling function, it will be left blank. So that is how a normal function looks, whereas a constructor will not have a return type, not even void. Void means the function does not return any value. So the constructor will not have any return type, not even void, and it has to be declared in the class only. So when I say class, like don't ask me whether we should write a class program, because constructor concept can be applied with a class only. When I say constructors, automatically it becomes a class program. You cannot write a constructor without a class. Constructor will have the same name as the class name, and they need to be declared in the public section of the class. What is public? It's an access specifier. It needs to be declared in the public section of the class, and then you can overload constructors, which means that a class can have more than one constructor. A constructor without any arguments is called a default constructor, and then the other one is a parameterized constructor. If you're passing parameters, how do you pass it? By implicit call, explicit call, and equal to during the creation of the object. And then how does the default constructor run? The default constructor gets executed when an object is created for the class. The parameterized is you need to, during object creation, you need to pass it as an argument. You're not calling the constructor using object name dot the constructor. Getting it? Please make the note of the question so that I can show you the execution, the program, and I'll explain you each one of that, and I'll show you the output of that also. And please pay attention to your lab. It is 30 marks, and don't expect that all the programs would be taken out. No, they won't be taking all the programs out. So these programs would be there, and then according to PU board rules, there will be no change of program. That is, you don't know one program, then you lose 15 marks. They'll not give you change of program, and getting 30 is very easy, wherein you'll be writing paper for only 70. So please do pay attention to this. Write down the statement, add x raised to n using constructors to the question. Fine. This is lab program 10. So we have the question, that is, we are going to find the sum of the series 1 plus x square, so up to x raised to n. So what is x here? X is nothing but the base. And then what is the other thing which you need here is the number of terms in the series. Like how many terms the user up to n terms, like when you need to stop. So what is the term? X is a term, x square is a term, like how many terms you need in the series. So you need to take the from the user what is the base, like what is the value of x. X can be 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. What is the value of base and how many terms you need in the series. Like for example, if I say like 3 is the base and number of terms is 4, so you need to calculate 1 plus, wherein 1 I would have assigned it to some. So I would be taking that into consideration. So I will say x, that is the base is, I said 3, and the number of terms is 4. So it will be 3 plus 3 square plus 3 cube plus 3 raised to 4. So that is 1 plus this. I need to calculate. So what is the base? You need to take from the user the value of base and the number of terms in the series. How many terms you want, and then it will calculate the sum and then give you a single number. Getting it? Hopefully you have understood the question, and we need to get this using constructors. This lab program is from the chapter Constructors and Destructors. So see, class is a keyword. It is written in lowercase. Whenever you're doing any program in TC, if the keywords are in white, you can see that class is in lowercase. If I change the case of C, then it will not be taken as a keyword. Class, and then I'm giving the name of my class as some series. Sum of series or some series is fine. This is a user defined name given to the class. Then inside class, open braces, then class is enclosed between open and closed braces terminated by a semicolon. I repeat again, you need to terminate it by a semicolon. If you don't terminates you by a semicolon, if you forget to terminate a class by a semicolon, you will get too many types error, like you will get a lot of errors because of that one semicolon. So please pay attention to the syntax, like class has to be terminated by a semicolon. Don't terminate any functions. Many of you in the test, especially I saw many of you have terminated the header of the while loop. Do while, yes, you terminate it with a semicolon because it's an exit control loop. Many of you have terminated while in the header only, function headers only you have terminated. So again, once you terminate in the function header only, the body of the function will not get executed because you're just closing it at the header of the function only. Then why will the control go to the body? So all these errors definitely will not fetch you marks. The marks, because of one semicolon mistake, you will lose marks. So when you are writing the program, please pay attention to it, and you can do it without any errors only if you understand the concept rather than mugging it up. Mugging definitely will not help you, so please pay attention to this. Private is an access specifier, anything declared in private. So, what are the things I can declare in private? Data members and member functions. So, the data members and member functions are the components of a class which are declared inside the class, that is, the variables or constants inside the class are data members of the class, and functions declared inside the class are the member functions of the class. So, private is an access specifier. Anything declared below that or in the private section of the class is accessible only to the functions of the class as well as the friend functions of the class. We have done friend functions in function overloading. So, if you have any doubt, please go back. It's a very important concept in your theory exam point of view. So int, base, term, I, temp and sum. So all these are the data members of the class. I have all of these are the type integer. See, I can say sum is equal to 1 here because the series starts from 1 plus x square. So I can initialize sum to 1 so that when I add sum again, see, normally if you are adding sum is equal to sum plus something, sum should have an initial value. If the series is starting from x plus x square, then I will say sum is equal to 0. So 0 plus anything, the value does not change. But then since the series is starting from 1 plus x square plus x cube up to x raised to n, wherein the base, that is the x value, is entered by the user, and then how many terms you want, that is the number of terms in the series, is also entered by the user. So sum, base, term, I, temp and sum. Sum will have 1 here because it is 1 plus x. So I cannot declare and initialize here in the class. If I have a function, I can do it. Even in main, which is again a library or a built-in function, we do that. Or in a user-defined function, it can be any type of function, I can declare and initialize. But in a class, I cannot do that. Constructors are there for that. Or you can have it in a member function of the class also. But then if I have it in a constructor, whenever an object is created and the default constructor is run, the variables will get the initial value that time itself. So int, base, term, I, temp and sum are the data members of my class. In the public section, I have the parameterized constructor. Why is it parameterized and why is it a constructor? First thing, it has the same name as the class name. So what is the class name? Sum series. So what is the name of the constructor? Sum series. It's a function. Yes, it's a function because I have that open and close brackets over here because only that comes with a function. After that, the constructor do not have a return type. They do not have any return type, not even void. You don't see any return type over here, right? And next, it has to be declared in the public section of the class only, and I am declaring it in the public section of the class. And then you can overload constructors, which means that when you say overload, you will have a default one without parameters, and then you need to supply parameters, right? You have to pass parameters and then you can make change in the number, type or the order of parameters. So here I am having a parameterized constructor because I am going to pass two arguments to it of the type integer. A constructor without arguments is called a default constructor. A constructor with arguments is called a parameterized constructor. So I am passing arguments to this. I am going to pass two arguments of the type integer. That is why this is a parameterized constructor. If you forget to do this constructor, even the program is correct, you won't be able to get marks because it's explicitly specified that you need to find the sum of the series using constructors only. So sum series int comma int. This is the constructor. After that, I do have a function here called calculate. A calculate is a function which is going to return an integer value. That is why int calculate open and close brackets. I am not passing any arguments to it because it's blank over here, right? calculate is a user defined function or a member function of the class sum series, which is declared in the public section, means it is accessible outside the class. You need to just create an object of this, and with the help of the object I can access calculate outside the class since it is declared in the public section of the class. What does the return type of the function mean? That is, the function is going to return an integer value. Where is it going to return? It is going to return the integer value to the calling function. So int calculate, and I am not passing any arguments to it. That is why it is blank. So then I am terminating or closing my class here. This is the end of my class sum series. That is why I have put a semicolon over there. Yeah, hopefully you've understood and have made a note of it. After that, I am running it sum series scope resolution. This is the name of the class, scope resolution operator, name of the constructor or name of the function, and b and t are the two formal parameters, int b, int t. Here also you can see in the declaration I am going to have two integer values. I am going to have two integer values. The first one what you pass would be in b, and second one what you pass would be in t. So what am I doing in the constructor? In the constructor, I am making base. Where have I declared base? Base has been declared as a data member of the class is equal to b. So whatever is the value of b you pass gets substituted into base, and whatever is the value of t which you pass gets substituted in term, and base and term are the data members of the class sum series of the type integer. After that, again, sum is a data member which is declared in the class. I am giving an initial value to it as 1. That is, sum is equal to 1. This ends my constructor. Constructors are special functions, and functions are not terminated by semicolon. That is why I am not terminating it with a semicolon. Now I need to write for the calculate. What is the general syntax of declaring the function inside and defining outside? You will say return type of the function. What is the return type of the function calculate? Int. The name of the class in which it is declared or it belongs to. What is the name of the class in which it is declared? It is sum series. Scope resolution operator. I do have a scope resolution operator here, and then the name of the function and argument list if any. What is the name of the function? The name of the function is calculate. So let us see. For example, I'll write it as a user. I have entered B as 2. So as a user, I'll say B is equal to 2. So what will be the value of base then? Base is equal to B. So base is equal to 2. As a user, I have entered this. That is what I mean to say. And term also. Like as a user, for example, I pass term T is equal to 3. I want 3 terms in my series. So then automatically what will be the value of term? Term is equal to 3, right? And sum is equal to 1. I am giving an initial value to the sum. So what happens over here? Here temp is equal to base. I am making temp is equal to base. So what is the value of temp? Temp is equal to base. What is the value of base? Base is 2. So automatically temp becomes 2. Yeah, you are able to get this. Where I have a declared temp, I have declared it as a part of the class. It's declared in the class as an integer variable. So temp is equal to 2 because I am making temp is equal to base. After that, what happens in the for loop? For I is equal to 1, I less than or equal to term. So what is the value of term here? Term is 3. You can see here the value of term is 3. Don't get confused between temp and term. The value of term is 3. So I should be less than or equal to 3. Once I becomes 4, the for loop, the control will go out of the for loop. So the for loop will execute for the I values 1, 2 and 3. Because the value of term as an user, I would have entered 3. So the value of term is 3 here. So I is less than or equal to term. I should be less than term or equal to term. Once it becomes greater than term, the control will go out of the loop. And for every iteration of the for loop, the I value is going to get incremented by 1. So I starts from 1 and once I becomes 4, it exits the loop. So I is equal to 1, 2, 3. With these values, these are the iterations of the for loop. The first one, when I is equal to 1, yes, I is less than 3, it is going to execute, and then sum is equal to sum plus temp. So what is the value of sum here? Sum is equal to, what was the initial value of sum here? You can see the initial value of sum is 1. So it will be 1 plus temp. What is the value of temp? The value of temp is 2. Yeah? Temp is equal to base. So I is equal to sum is equal to sum plus 2. Correct? And then temp is equal to temp into base. What is the value of temp then? Temp is equal to, what is the value of temp? It is 2, right? 2 into 2, which is nothing but 2 square, right? 2 into 2 is 2 square, which is 4. Yeah? Then it goes back, increments the value of I. So what is the value of I now? I will be, I is equal to 2. So 2 is less than 3, correct? And sum is equal to sum plus temp. So sum is equal to, what is that? 1 plus, sorry, here it is. I is equal to 1 plus 2 plus temp. What was the value of temp? 2 into 2, that is 4, right? That is 1 plus 2 plus 2 square. Then temp is equal to temp into base. So it is equal to 2 into 2 was the previous value of temp. And what is the value of base? Base is equal to 2 into 2. That is 2 cube, right? Yeah. And it goes back, increments the value of I. So what would be the value of I over here? I is equal to 3. And 3 is equal to 3. It will go, yes, it will be executing because I said I is less than or equal to term. Term is 3. Then it is I 3 is equal to 3. It is true. So sum is equal to 1 plus 4 plus 2. That is the previous value of sum. 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus temp. What is the value of temp now? 8, right? So that will be there. You can see 1 plus 2 plus 2 square, 2 cube, and then temp is equal to temp into base, that is 2 raised to 4, right? Temp is equal to 2 raised to 4, and then it goes back, increments the value of I becomes 4. 4 is not less than or equal to 3, it goes out of the loop. By that, you would have calculated the three terms. Like, see, you can see the terms. This is the first term, that is 2. Then the second term is 2 square. For the third term is 2 cube. So the sum of the terms, like 1 plus, I wanted 3 terms, so it is 2 plus 2 square plus 2 cube. Whatever is the result of that, you will get as an answer. So it will be 12 plus 2 plus 1, that is 15. Sum would have the value 15 by the time you go out of the loop. And then what is happening here? It is going to return sum. What is the value of sum? Sum would be 15 by the time you go outside the loop. And then clear screen, int b t. Yes, I have to declare the two integer variables because I need to pass it as an argument, and afterwards cout enter the base and the number of terms in the series. Yes, I'm asking the user to enter the base. First value should be the base and second should be the number of terms in the series. I'm taking in, this is called cascading of input operator. That is, I am taking in the values of b and t in one cin statement, that is called the cascading of input operator. Then I have some series SOBJ. This is the implicit call. Implicit constructor call. What am I doing here? Some series. Yes, that is the name of the class. SOBJ is the name of the object. And then I am passing two arguments to it, which would be passed to the parameterized constructor. If I have to write the same thing with explicit call, I need to write some series SOBJ is equal to some series of b comma t. That is the explicit constructor call. Equal to I cannot use because equal to can be used only when the constructor has one parameter. If it has got one or more, I can use implicit or explicit constructor call. This is implicit constructor call. After that, since the function calculate is going to return the value, what is it going to return? An integer value, sum I am going to return. You have seen that I had returned sum, right? I am returning the sum value over here. So that would be returned at the place of the function call. So since I have returned it in a cout statement, whatever is the return value would be printed at the place of the function call. So cout endl, a new line, the sum of the series would be printed as it is. I have written it in double quotes, and then I have the function call SOBJ. How do I call it? Using object dot the function, since it's a member function. So SOBJ dot calculate. Since calculate is going to return a value, whatever is the return value would be written at the place of the function call. So it would be printed here, and then endl get ch. Here we come to the end of the program. Will execute it. Run. So let me say base is 2 and number of terms is 3. So you can see the sum of the series is 15. When I showed you the trace of it also, we got 15 only. Yeah, I showed you the trace of the function, how exactly it is working. There also we got the end result as 15. Here also when I execute it, I am getting the same. So my program is working properly and logically also it is working, right? Let me run once more. Let me say 2 and 5. I need to find the sum of the series is 63. Yeah, you saw that sum of the series was written in main and then I had the function call. So at the place of the function call, whatever value is returned from the function gets written. You can see that here. That is, I was returning sum over there and you are able to see it here. Hopefully you've understood this program. You can see the trace. This is called the trace of it, and I'm not it does not give me any error because I have commented it everywhere, so it does not get executed. And in lab you need not write this. For your understanding like how exactly that is working, I have made it as a comment and I have shown you how my program is working. Hopefully you've understood that and made a note of this. So we'll be doing the next program, that is from the chapter Inheritance. Create a base class containing the data members. So when I say inheritance, you will have the concept of base class and a derived class. So what is a base class? A base class is a class from which you create another class. And the derived class is a one which is created from an existing class. This program would be single inheritance program. You have where one base class and one derived class. So create a base class containing the data members, roll number and name. So when they have given, you please use the same variable name. So you should have two data members to store the roll number and name of the student. Getting it? Create a base class containing data members, roll number and name, and create member functions to read and display the data using the concept of single level inheritance. So the base class will contain two data members, which is roll number and name, and also you need to create member functions in the base class to read and write, that is to read in from the keyboard, or you have to ask the user to enter the data members, that is roll number and name, and print it back to the user. So this is what you're going to do in base class, that is you need to create data members to take in and store the values of, or I can say to store the values of roll number and name of the student, and member functions to take in and display the same. So this is my base class, and then you need to have, like you will be having the concept of single inheritance here, because there are 5 different kinds of inheritance. What are those? Single, multiple, multi-level, hierarchical and hybrid. These are the different kinds of inheritance available. We'll be using the concept of single inheritance, and this question if you learn, it will help you for your final theory exams also. Most of the time they ask you to explain single inheritance and create a derived class. Derived class is one which is created from an existing class, and it will have the properties of, or it will inherit the properties. What properties? The protected and the public properties of the base class, and it can have its own. So it can have its own properties. Along with that, it will inherit the properties of the base class. Which properties? The properties like the member functions or the data members declared in the protected and the public section of the base class, because private data never gets inherited. So create a derived class that contains, like along with this it will contain marks of two subjects. So you need to take in the marks scored by the user in any two subject, or you can generalize it as subject 1 and subject 2, or you want to give explicitly any name to it, it is up to you as a programmer. And total marks, you need to display the total marks, that is subject 1 plus subject 2 marks as the data members. So how many data members you will have? You will have three data members. One is marks 1, marks 2, and then the total. And apart from that, you need to have relevant functions, member functions, to take in and calculate and display the same. That is your lab program 11. Please make a note of the question so that we can move on to the program, and I will explain you the program and will execute, and then you can make a note of the answer or the output, I can say. Now we'll do the program and see how it works. So this is the lab program 11, wherein we'll be using single inheritance. That means you have one base class and one derived class. Base class is one wherein you can create another class from an existing class. That existing class is base class, and derived class is one which gets, you can create a class. The one which gets created, or the class which is created from an existing class, is called the derived class. That is also called as the subclass, and then the base class is called the superclass. These two are one markers most of the time asked in your theory, as well as it's a viva question for your lab. So in there are different types of inheritance can also be asked as a viva question. The different types are single, multiple, multi-level, hierarchical, and hybrid, and you should be knowing what each one means. So now single inheritance means one base class and one derived class. According to the specification, the base class, you can give any name to that. I have given student as a name to the base class. Class is a keyword. This is how I create a class, right? And then it should have two data members. In the private section, I have two data members. One is registration number to store the roll number of the student, and the data type of it is int. After that, I do have another variable which is a character array. Std name, that is student name, is another variable to store the name of the student, and it is an array because more than one character, that is a string. Basically strings are character arrays in C++. Std of 30, that is I am saying that the student name can be maximum of 30 characters length. So these are the two data members as specified in the statement of the program. And then they have also specified you need to have relevant member functions to take in the values. In the public section, I am having read student and print student. Read student will ask the user to enter the registration number and the name of the student, and print student would print the student details. So this is my base class as specified in the program statement, and I'm terminating. These two are the declarations of the member functions. I'm declaring the member functions inside the class, and I'm going to define it outside, and then I'm terminating or closing my class over here. My class has two data members and two member functions. The name of the class is student. Hopefully you've got it. After that, well, I need to define it, right? The definitions of the two, because I have declared the two member functions and I'm going to define it outside the class. The function definition has two parts. One is the function header, the other one is the function body. How do I write it outside? the written type of the function. I'll start with read std. So the written type of it is void. What does void mean? The function does not return any value. That is what void means. So, and the name of the class in which it is declared or it belongs to. The read std is declared in the public section of student. It can be public, protected or private. It doesn't matter when you write it outside, but in which class it belongs to. You need to specify the name of that class. So student is what? Read student belongs to student class. So I have written it over here. Scope resolution operator and name of the function. Name of the function is read std and there are no arguments, so it is blank. So I'm starting opening, I'm closing and opening. The body of the function is written in the open and close braces. I'm not terminating it because functions do not get terminated using a semicolon. So what do I ask the user? As I said earlier also, I have told you that you need to write proper cout statements. Then only as a user I will know what to enter. Just you're not writing the program only for yourself. So don't write anything, only in statements without writing a cout statement, because the user, whoever runs it, will not have a clue what to enter or how many values to enter or what type of values to enter. So I say cout, enter the registration number and name of the student. I'm asking the user to enter the registration number and name of the student, and I'm taking in, I'm not cascading here because those two, that is the registration number and the name, are of two different data types. One is an integer, one is a character. So I'm writing it and taking it in two different cin statements. Getting it? Cin registration number, Cin name. You can also write Cin.getLine function. I have written it with Cin. This ends my read student function. In the print student, I am printing student details. Yes, you need to print that also, like what you're printing. Just like that, if you write, it will show me one number and it will show me one name. By seeing the name, at least I can make out what is that. By just the number, you will have no clue what is that number means. What is the like significance of that, right? So I'll say cout endl student details would be printed as it is, and after that registration number, and then the registration number, anything in double quotes would be printed as it is, and then without quotes, if you write the variable name, whatever is the value or in that variable or the data the variable is holding, that would be printed and endl, so that the other information is printed one below the other, not one next to another. Then student name and name of the student. This is what the print student, print std function is going to do. Yeah, any doubts in this? Hopefully you will not have any doubts. It's like very clear and explicit. After that, this line is very important because this is how you derive a class. What is a general syntax? Class is a keyword, class, the derived class name, colon, visibility mode, the base class name. This is the general syntax of creating derived class. That is, class is a keyword, you will write derived class name is marks, and then colon. Don't write scope resolution operator over here. Double colon is scope resolution operator that is used in with respect to defining it outside, declared inside, and then when you are speaking about global variables. But here I will be using colon, and then the visibility mode. What are visibility modes? Based on the visibility mode, the data which gets inherited or the base class data would be placed in the relevant access specifier space. If I say public, then whatever is in public goes to public, whatever is there in protected goes to protected, and private data never gets inherited. And then the default visibility mode is private. If I don't specify anything, it will be private. The three different visibility modes are private, protected, and public. It's a commonly asked question even in your theory. So I will say class marks. Class is a keyword, marks is a derived class name, colon visibility mode is public, so there will be no change. And then the student. Student is the name of the base class. And I do have student here, it is already existing. See, you can have here. So I am deriving a class marks in public visibility mode from student, and this is single inheritance, single level, because there is one derived class and one base class. After that, the derived class in the private section, according to the program statement, you need to have three variables. One is two variables is for taking in the marks of two subjects, and the third is to calculate the total of that. Total you are not going to take from the user, you are only taking the marks from the user, two subject marks, but then you need to calculate the total. So please don't write enter total also, then you don't need the subject marks and user need not enter, then you won't be doing anything, right? So after that, read marks and print marks are the two member functions declared in the public section of the class marks. Getting it? So what will read marks do? Again, void is the return type. Name of the class it belongs to is marks. Scope resolution operator read marks. Here in the first line, what is this? Function call. I'm calling the function read std. I'm calling it and I'm not making use of the object over here because directly I can call, right? It gets inherited from student because read std and print std are public members of the class student, and then they get public member functions of the class student, and they get inherited in the public section of the marks class also. So this is the function call. As soon as I call read marks from main, first line in read marks is I am calling the function read std. So what does the read std function do? It will ask the user to enter the registration number and name of the student, right? And then you take in the registration number and name of the student. So instead of calling it in main, I'm calling it in read marks function, and I will call the read marks function in main, which in turn will execute read std. So read std, I'm going first line, when the read marks function get executed, you have a function called the read std function will get executed, which will ask the user to enter the number, registration number and name of the student, and you are going to take in those values. After that, you are asking the user to enter the marks code in two subjects, because you need to take in the marks of two subjects and then you need to find the total and print it, right? So M1 and M2 are the variables in which I am going to take in the marks of two subjects. Then I have print marks again as a function declared in the marks class. So void marks resolution operator print marks. Again, here also the first line of this is the function call. That is, I am calling the base class function print std, right? Then after that you are going to print the result details, then total I am calculating M1 plus M2, and then this is the format in which I would be printing the result. Print std would have printed the student details, that is registration number and name as it is. After that, I will say result details and total I'm calculating over here. It will not get printed because I don't have any cout statements here. Then whatever is the sum of M1 and M2 would get substituted in total. After that, I do have cout statements. It will say subject 1, subject 2, M1 and N2, whatever is the mark 1, marks 2 would be printed, and then the total marks would be printed. This is the end of my print marks function. Getting it? Then I do have main. Whenever inheritance happens, you don't create object for the base class, you create the object for the derived class. So which is the derived class here? It is marks. So how do I create an object? This class name space the object name. With the help of derived class object only, I can access the inherited base class members, right? So marks space mobj. Mobj is the object. Afterwards, I'm just calling two functions here, mobj dot read marks. Read marks in turn would call the read student function, because we saw that that is the first line in the read call. The function call was the first line in the read marks, and then it will read the marks of m1 and m2. The same way, the print marks also first is the function call, which will call the base class display or print function, and then it will display the details of the derived classes. Then get ch. Please go through this once. We will execute this. Hopefully you've understood this. Then we'll say run. Enter the registration number and name of the student. See, I haven't called this function. I called the derived class function, and in derived class function I had the function call for this. So first line gets executed. First I need to enter the registration number. If I say the registration number is 1001, and I'll say the name of the student is Ram. Then enter the marks code in two subjects. So I will say 78 and 90 are the marks code in M1 and M2. Then I had the display function call of the derived class. In the derived class print function, I had called the base class print function. So first, this was the base class details, right? Student details, registration number is this, student name is this. Then I do have the result details, subject 1, subject 2, and then the total of that is calculated and printed to the user. This is my output. Hopefully you have understood this, and these two programs definitely would come for your exam. So today's homework question would be learn and write. Learn, please underline that. Learn and write lab programs 10 and 11 from the lab manual. I repeat, learn and write the lab programs 10 and 11. That is the constructor program and the inheritance, which we discussed today in today's class. You have to learn and then write it. Yeah. So take care, stay safe. Tomorrow's class we'll be starting with Boolean algebra. We come to the end of the practicals, that is part A 16 programs. From tomorrow we'll be starting with the second chapter, that is Boolean algebra and logic gates. They are also very important chapters, and it is easy and you can score marks. Okay? Stay safe, take care, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.